I guess my lowest point that I got to was I had been inpatient and outpatient. I had done residential treatment, inpatient so many times in my life. Too many that I can even count right now. And finally, the very last inpatient stay that I had, I remember, and it was probably one thing that changed my life most, and made me actually try recovery one more time. But I was in the ICU, and my parents had been called because they said, your daughter's going to die. She doesn't have much time left to live the way she's treated her body. And I was refusing it. I was refusing treatment. I didn't want anything. I didn't want to live anymore. I just gotten to that point where I couldn't see that there was anything beyond my eating disorder. All I could see was like the pain and the hurt that I felt. And I could see that I was causing everyone else pain, but I didn't know how to live my life a different way. And at that point, I didn't even want to. And my dad sat at the foot of my hospital bed, and I just saw tears just like fall from his eyes. And he just cried, and he said, please, just try. Please try to get better. Just don't give up. He said, just never, ever give up. And I remember looking at him and being like, I don't want to get better. I don't want to live anymore. I was happy with that, like the thought that this could finally be over, that all that pain and all the hurt and everything, the torment of the eating disorder could be over. And so I was like, no, I can't do this. And he found a way after so many times to get me into treatment again. Treatment's incredibly expensive, so finding a way was really hard. And I remember thinking, I have to go because they've done all this for me. Like, I have to at least go. And in the back of my mind, I thought, no, I can still keep the eating disorder, though. I'm just going to go to please them, and then, I can still hold on to it. And so that's when I went inpatient the very last time. And that was pretty much my lowest point, was during all that and just thinking, like, I don't want to live anymore. I don't want it. So my eating disorder started at a really young age. Being a competitive gymnast and a dancer as well, I learned that it was best for my body to be small. If I was smaller, I could do better in each event in gymnastics. I was praised for being smaller in most of my events. And I had a best friend when I was younger who was very competitive as well, and we started playing games just like around the table, like guessing how many calories does this have, how many calories does this have, and not something that most 8-year-olds are gonna play, those types of games. And so I became aware of those things before most girls would have. And I was also searching that age around 8 to 10 of to find my identity. And I didn't think I was good enough for some reason. Just who I inherently was not good enough to me. And I was trying to find who I was and who I thought would make everybody else happy. And I found that I could diet better than anybody else. I could cut food groups. I could lose weight. I could exercise more. And that's kind of when my eating disorder started. I just started cutting out food groups at first and was praised because I was eating healthier. My parents said, oh, she's just really healthy. She exercises a lot because she's in sports. And after a few years, people started to confront my parents about it and say, I think she's lost a little too much weight, or I never see Alicia eat anymore. What's wrong? And they made excuses, even though they knew something was wrong. They just didn't want to admit it. And I found that out later. They were just trying to protect us, like their family and me. But they made those excuses, and I really felt like everything I was doing was okay, in part by that. I came to Rosewood after a really bad relapse. I had actually been in recovery for 3 years prior to coming to Rosewood this last time, and I'd been in a car accident, and it was really bad. They said that no one should have survived the accident, and I actually had a traumatic brain injury from it. And once that accident happened, I was kind of stripped of any sense of, autonomy at that point. I couldn't drive myself. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't do anything. And I came home from the hospital and had to have somebody with me 24/7, taking care of me. And, after a while, you kind of start feeling like, I have no control. And that was something that my eating disorder had given me in the past. It had given me that sense of control, that sense of, I can do this, you know. And so even though I had been in recovery, I started to grasp that again. I wanted that sense of control, and I felt like I had no control in my life. And so I started reaching for it again, and without even knowing it, I started slipping down even further into the eating disorder, and was confronted by my fiance at the time, and she said, you're not doing well, and I know this. I can tell, I can see everything's happening all over again. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I've been sick. That's why I've lost weight. I've pulled out every excuse in the book. The car accident, I can't do this. And I knew, though, in the back of my mind, like, I was going down that road again, and I wasn't going to let it get to where it was before, and I was going to do everything I could to safeguard myself from that. But I still came into Rosewood thinking it wasn't going to be as hard as it was, and it was definitely a challenge when I got in there. For me, it was realizing when I tried to think about the behaviors that I came into Rosewood to stop. I was restricting and I was purging, and those were the two behaviors that at that time I thought were like the big problems. I hadn't realized that I had slipped back into so many old behaviors as well, and that I hadn't really let go of so many parts of the eating disorder. So Rosewood really helped me see that even though I thought I was in recovery before that for a while, I wasn't fully there. I hadn't let go of the eating disorder all the way. I was still holding on to these pieces, holding on to what I thought I had to, and holding on to things that I thought weren't exactly necessary to give up for recovery. But I realized that at my time at Rosewood, and that's when I finally started to just let go and started to actually find my place in recovery. Today I am fully in recovery, and I just got married at the end of May, so I'm happily married to the woman of my dreams, and we have 2 amazing boys. I'm enjoying my life now, and that's something I never thought that I would. And every day of my eating disorder, I thought there was nothing really to live for, because I hadn't ever found anything that was better than my eating disorder. I thought that the small things in my eating disorder that made me happy, like reaching a goal weight, or exercising this much, or going this long without eating, those were the things that gave me any sort of happiness in my eating disorder. And now I am happy for other reasons, and I want to live, and I enjoy my family. I'm able to reach out to other people and speak at schools and educate other people about eating disorders and about recovery. And so yeah, there's hard days for sure still, and I have a lot of health problems because of the eating disorder, but I would take any of these days with the health problems. Fighting the hardest day now is still better than like what I thought was my best day in my eating disorder. I would say keep fighting, and no matter how far gone you think you are, or if you think you're the one person who can't recover, it's not true, because I thought I was the one person who would never recover. I thought everybody else could do it, and they can tell me this, and I can listen to all these people say, well, I did this, I recovered, I was this far gone, I was that. But I said, I'm going to be the one person that's never going to recover. And it turns out that wasn't true. And I thought that there was nothing worth living for beyond the eating disorder, and there is. And so I would say, don't give up, that there's something better, because there's always something better than the eating disorder.